Well, hello. And today we are going to talk all about LGBTQ online marketing and some of the things you can do on your own here in 2020. So if you like this video and you want to tag us on any of these points, here are all of our social media, both for myself personally, Matt Scallard, and for Pink Media. So here's how this is how we get started. We're really going to try to get all on the same page in terms of where are we at today? So this is kind of an old slide, but what we're talking about here is that remember once upon a time when you had Netscape open and you didn't know exactly where you wanted to go and you had 1,000 bookmarks saved on your web browser. And that was the way we navigated things in the 90s. Then during the 2000s, along comes Google and says, don't worry about it. Just tell us what you're looking for and we will give you the best results at this moment in time. But where we've kind of merged or migrated to is in that world of discovery. And discovery is that place with social media and so forth where people don't exactly always know what they're looking for. But what they do know is that they're having a cup of coffee in the morning, they're in between jobs at work, and they're kind of perusing their social feed and they're seeing what their friends are up to. And that's how the vast majority of articles, stories, news, that's how a lot of it gets seen, discovered, and made available to you. And the whole deal is how can you as a business be able to make yourself relevant in that space? So before we kind of get into all of it, let's kind of give an overview of where you can advertise today. So we thought banner ads were going to be gone by now, but they're still here. And because a lot of it has to do with targeting. So no longer are banner ads just sort of run on websites in general. For better or for worse, a lot of the technology out there knows who we are. And we'll talk a little bit about that, but they know who we are. And in 2020, ad agencies or even smaller companies on your own can utilize what's called programmatic ad serving technology in order to be able to target your specific audience on almost any website, LGBT or otherwise. So these are just showing a few examples for the travel industry, but that you're able to really drill down and not just reaching LGBT travelers, but you can really be very specific in terms of, I want to reach those that like cruises or like adventure travel and so forth. But it runs across a very wide gamut. It's thousands and thousands of data points, including luxury travelers and higher end net worth individuals for insurance and all sorts of different targeting. But in addition, mobile. So mobile also taps into that same data, but with mobile, this is showing that we can even drill down more narrowly into specific neighborhoods. And so a lot of the apps, whether it is Grindr and Scruff or Hornet and a wide variety of others, even mobile optimized websites like The Advocate and Pride.com, you can target your specific audience even more specifically there. And in addition, the 320 by 480 banner ad unit, which takes up the whole phone screen, is really one of the best performers in this day and age. So Facebook. So Facebook allows you the same targeting we just talked about on for banner ads. And so, but it instead of using the same data sets that banners and mobile will use, Facebook is using their own knowledge of who we are, and it's kind of more behavior targeting. So in this instance, you're actually able to reach LGBT travelers who have shown a specific interest, in this case, Spain. And so you're not just throwing money out there to target LGBT travelers in general, but now you can specifically target LGBT travelers who have shown an interest in your destination, in any of your product categories, and who live in very specific areas all around the world. And so what's really nice is that when you're targeting on Facebook, you're also able to port that same targeting and the ads over into Instagram. So even though most people are comfortable just posting on Instagram for free, you're actually able to do very good targeting from Facebook over to Instagram, and your ad units and all the work you've done for targeting just migrate over. So this is just showing some of the examples of exactly how you do that. But the beauty of it is that now you have a call to action on your Instagram. So now not only is your Instagram post just out there where, you know, typically they have no link to it when it's organic or free, but now you're actually able to have something like a book now or learn more to give people a click-through call to action to your website. Let's not forget about search. So search is, of course, always very important. It has been from the very beginning of the early 2000s, and it's kind of worked its way up to where we're at today. And it hasn't gone away. It's just it's part of the overall mix. And so we show these two numbers because this gives more credibility to why it's so important to focus on search and social, because people used to come to a website and used to spend sometimes half an hour just kind of perusing your website. Maybe you had message boards and different ways of what was called sticky content in order to keep them on your site. But in today's day and age, they see an article, they see something from whether it's Google or through their social feeds, they click on it, they check it out, and then they leave. And so you're catching people for, in this instance, the 1.44 page views per session means that the vast majority of folks go to your website, leave, and only a few even stick around for that second page. Before, once upon a time, you used to be able to get 10, 20, or 30 page views per session. And an average session duration is about 30 seconds. So they're there, they read what they want, and then they leave. So that means that they're not doing what many of us think, which is going to the front page, checking out all the rest of our site. They're being caught at that higher level, not just from your front page of your site, but the higher level of what a specific article that they found through Google or that they clicked on through social. So the power has shifted over to search and social as far as the decision, really emphasizing where the decisions are made for people to be able to reach your site. And of course, but you can pay, be able to really target very specific good key AdWords for your site. It's not a lot of money, but it has become more competitive over the years because everybody in every business is on Google in some way, shape, or form. What's also important about Google with search is that they have integrated more and more social media. So this is showing an example not only of their integration with Twitter, but Twitter with hashtags. So as we're kind of going through this presentation, the more you use hashtags in your tweets, the more opportunities you have to be able to show up here in search. Now, search on Google is only picking up the most trending posts and topics at that moment in time, but it's definitely a start of an integration, and it can just continue to grow from there. So, social media landscape. This is kind of more of the traditional model. You would advertise on a website, you would get your story out there on that website, and so your audience would be able to find the website you're advertising on through social media, and then from there over to your website. So if you're advertising, you're on the yellow box, you're kind of a few steps away from your LGBT audience, but the media company is helping you along the way. Their job is to be able to attract as strong of a very focused audience as they can. But in today's day and age, it's really migrated much more towards this, which is that from your audience goes to social and directly to, if you're promoting yourself through these channels, through your website. But what we say is that social is now doing the heavy lifting of a lot of the work that needs to be done in order to be able to drive traffic to your site. And driving traffic to your site, build followers on your social profiles. This is the kind of the language that influencers are working with. And so this really kind of shows you that what you're really going to be doing in today and moving forward is making sure that the media company you're working with, are they going to do this work for you as well? Are they going to promote you properly from social and make it so that they don't have to go to their website in order to find you? And so this is showing that in that train of thought, see, here's social ad units that can be working for you as a company that don't even have a call to action. In this case, it's a video. And the video is for a drag brunch. And if somebody likes the video, they're able to click through the various different profiles that are linked there in order to be able to follow, learn more, and of course, ultimately click to a website. But what's important is, again, the social media is doing the heavy lifting in this case. But in another one, this one does have a call to action. And of course, that's always the best way to do it. Call to action meaning, is there a link? Is there a link not only to your website, but to the web page that is very specifically being promoted from this tweet? So in this case, the answer is yes. It's a LGBT tour to Italy. The imagery is fantastic. There's 4 images on the tweet, and it's described with hashtags and the profiles in order for somebody to be able to follow up and be able to follow the tour company. But more importantly is that call to action directly to their landing page. So this is typical when you're posting in this way. You're typically getting anywhere between 1,000 to 5,000 impressions for every single one of your posts. But it's not going to happen unless you're doing a few things we're going to talk about. It's very simple, but you have to be engaged. You have to You have to realize that social media is very human. So it's not something where you are just posting and hoping for the best and and throwing it out there and just sit back and let's see what happens. It's that you are actually active and showing interest in others as well, just in general, not specific to these posts. So when you're doing that, you pay attention to others, they pay attention to you, they like your post back. And this is very typical. Again, about between 1,000 and 5,000 impressions. And what you're shooting for is about a 10% engagement rate for all of your posts. And that means 10% of those people will like, comment, share in some way, shape, or form. So what are we doing today? We're communicating via the power of storytelling. And any of you can pick up whether it's the mouse, the phone, whatever it's going to be, and get your story out there. But the power has shifted from the content in what we just would simply call, or your story in content form, where it's just the power shifted from just the written word into the conversational form, and where it's being distributed out there, and primarily through social media. So we have a few of these geeky types of slides, not too many, but what this is going to try to show you is number one, why does Facebook work so well for us? It's because it's a two-way street. It's by default a two-way street. It's our friends, it's our family, it's professional colleagues, but it's 5,000 max. So that means that, for some of you may say, 5,000 is more than I'm ever going to be connected to. But for most of us, that 5,000, that's a distinct limitation because we're using it for work as well as just for fun. And so the two-way street means you cannot be connected or following someone on Facebook unless they're paying attention and have accepted and following you back. So it's by default a nice engagement that way, which is different than the business page on Facebook, which is just when businesses put themselves out there, it's a one-way street. It's the business just broadcasting to the world and to their audience. And even if they have like 100,000 followers, unless you're paying Facebook, your post is probably not going to get seen all that much. There are a few exceptions for those that have really learned how to work Facebook business pages properly and be able to have an engaged audience in that environment. But for most of us, it's not that case. And so for most of us, if we want to really have our Facebook post perform from our business page, we're going to do that targeted advertising we saw earlier. So these are a couple examples of just individuals in the LGBT travel world who use their personal profiles in order to be able to maximize their engagement and performance through their Facebook posts. So for these folks, it works fantastic. But for the vast majority of us, we don't always want to necessarily merge all of our personas, professional and private and personal, into the same profile. So then this is Twitter. And this is how you make Twitter work. Is that what we were talking about before? A lot of folks will just focus Twitter on just broadcasting that one-way message. And if you're looking at it only one way, it's going to perform like that Facebook business page, not that well. But if you realize that it's a human on the other end, and you follow and you stay engaged with others that are in your industry, in your region, whatever it is, but you're really staying engaged with people that you really want to be able to be engaged with you. And again, engagement is commenting, liking, sharing. It's that whole human element to social media. And so when you do that, the beauty of Twitter is that it's kind of unlimited. So you don't have that cap of 5,000. So on Twitter, you can have, 100,000, in this case, I'm showing 25,000 following you, you're following them. Most of us are not going to get that large, especially at the very beginning, but the potential is that you could. And this is the reason you're seeing Twitter really take off when it comes to companies really getting their message out there, because of that unlimited potential that it has. And so again, businesses large and small, telling their story directly to their audience. And the whole idea is that your company and your message need to be relevant where this power is shifted, from content form into where the conversations are happening. And so, as I said before, influencers are speaking that language. And so what is an influencer? Sometimes it's important not to look at influencers as a profession, because we've been doing that for years. They're all on Instagram. We think of them as like 25 and under. It's not that way. Is that influencers are individuals or businesses that are thought leaders that are out there really not only putting really good content out there, but staying engaged and kind of taking a leadership position in their niche in the world. And so if you look at influence as an outcome and not as a profession, it changes the whole formula. And so again, influence is audience reach. How many people are you really reaching? But not only are you reaching them, is there a brand affinity, whether it's for your own company or influencers you're working with? Are we aligned? And so, of course, the answer should be yes. And then the strength of the relationship. Not only is there good alignment, good follower count, but is that influencer, or are you as a business with your social media profiles? Do you have a strong relationship? Which just simply means, are you engaged? Are you liking, commenting, and sharing? And are they liking, commenting, and sharing with you as well? So audience reach, subscribers, followers, friends, brand affinity, that gets more into the detail what we just talked about, knowledge in a particular field, being trusted out there. So all these are very important elements in success in social media. And then again, the last part, strength of the relationship. If you are engaged with others, they will be engaged with you. So these are just a small handful of the, we work with well over 100 influencers or we have a business relationship. And we actually, when clients come to us and they're saying we're trying to make outreach to a very specific niche in the LGBT community, we try to have influencers and influencer work as part of that mix. And so this is how we do it. Whether it's Twitter and so forth, we post and include them, they post and include us. And when they do, that's going to help encourage and make sure that we're engaged with those specific posts as well. And it just shows the wide variety of influencers out there, whether it's somebody who's young and on Instagram in their 20s, or there's quite a number of them that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are very active in a wide variety of platforms outside of just Instagram. It could be Facebook, Twitter, and so forth. And don't forget LinkedIn. So when we were talking about influencers and the other two platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram's important. It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid between those two. What most people don't know is that you can only follow 7,500 people. So that's the cap, which means that in order to truly be successful and have those 100,000 plus followers, you've got to come up with some gimmick in order to be able to get a lot more people following you than you are following. And so that's why everybody wants to be a Kardashian. And that's why the success on Instagram is what we see when someone has really got a great kind of more of a celebrity type following, and they have hundreds of thousands of people following their every move. And the reality is, though, most of us are not going to fall in that category. And so that's where we have to look at social media overall in order to be able to figure out how are we going to succeed in that space. So these are some of the numbers. And this just shows you, again, Facebook's the dominant. They've got over probably now 1.5 billion users. However, the key piece here is you're never going to be able to really reach all of them. You can have 5,000 max in your own personal profile. And if you want to pay Facebook, they do a great job of being able to reach your targeted audience out of that 1.5 billion. And then, of course, Instagram, less than Facebook, but very, very engaged and active, but 7,500 max. The area that we focus on a lot is on Twitter. So on Twitter, again, unlimited potential. And in today's day and age, it's now at 166 million active daily users. And that's the number that you always want to stay on top of when you're understanding social media platforms, because that's showing how many people are actually active and using it, not how many people just have an account. And so this just shows the growth in Twitter over the last few years. In this case, at the beginning of 2019, they were at 134 million. And now, as of the first quarter of 2020, they're at 166 million. And so when the numbers come in for Q2, it'll be interesting to see what that growth is as well. But our ultimate aim, our job, what we're all trying to accomplish is specifically this. You post something, and if you're doing the right work and the right job, you're going to have a larger number of people be able to see your content and engage with you. And so what we're trying to do is not only kind of get it out there in a megaphone type of scenario, but in addition, we want to be able to work with these profiles and these platforms so that we're reaching friends of friends. So we're reaching people that are connected directly to us in some way, shape, or form, and have shown a very similar type of interest in our product and our service. And that's how you succeed on social media. So now let's switch over a little bit and talk about video. So video is a fantastic form of content, especially now in 2020. So over the last few years, we've been working with clients to be able to get their ads in what's called pre-roll, whether it's YouTube or websites that have video. And so these are just a couple examples. Absolute did it, Wells Fargo did it, where they're all trying to figure out how to be able to get their video story or message out there in the form of an advertisement in advance of when a regular video is going to play. It's very traditional. Many of you may have already tried this already. But now things are migrating into what's called OTT or connected TV. And especially during 2020 and the pandemic, quarantine, Netflix and all the rest have really skyrocketed over the last several months. And so Reverie is one of the only, or at least one of the only or few LGBTQ connected TV platforms. They're kind of like the LGBT Netflix of our time. And so you're able to actually work with them directly to be able to get your message out there. Or programmatic advertising is also, we're going to talk about another way of being able to just kind of get your message out there in LGBT viewers, content, and so forth out there on connected TV. So there's 80% of US homes that have a television now have a connected TV. And many of those homes have more than one connected TV. The total is estimated at 400 million connected TVs in the US as of 2020. And so all the different streaming companies are all kind of falling over themselves to be able to, like, this is in this example, Hulu. NBC is doing it because of their new platform with Peacock. You're finding everybody's kind of putting themselves out there so that they can create platforms so that companies and businesses, large and small, can be able to target their audience on these new connected TVs. And so all the things we talked about, though, all that targeting, all the data that's available out there for banner ads, for social, is now also available in connected TV advertising as well. So you can be able to target LGBT travelers who have shown a specific interest in your destination, or have shown an interest in purchasing insurance or buying a home. And you could reach those people with a video message on connected TV in specific regions all throughout the country. So it's fascinating, the opportunities that are available to us now. And so this is showing kind of a bit of the flow in connected TV opportunities outside of just targeting. So we talked about targeting data very similar to the banner ad and Facebook model. But in addition, many of us are very familiar with remarketing, where you look at a pair of shoes on Amazon, and next thing you know, that pair of shoes follows you everywhere you go online. And now, of course, it can even follow you on you during your TV watching. So that's what's showing connected TV retargeting, to be able to allow you to, if you're surfing on the web, that same ad can be targeted to someone, your viewers on TV. And in addition, audience extension, which is the reverse. So if there's LGBT content that's available on connected TV, you can target those folks and be able to, and if they're viewing your content or have seen your ad, you can retarget them on your website as well, or in different websites, and be able to drive that traffic directly over to your website. So there's all these different business models that are forming based upon the technology that's available to us today. But it's phenomenal, and it's really in a growth period right now, even during this downtime, because so many people are very much paying attention to much more video now than they were in 2019. So that was video for advertising, but in addition, video that you're creating, what we would kind of call the long form. Now, in our world, the long form is usually about 15 minutes max, because we don't believe people have a large attention span for watching a lot of longer form video. But if you have a experience with creating longer form video where people are going to pay attention, then that's fantastic. Then you're able to create the video, and there's two places you can place that video in its full long form entirety: YouTube, which is kind of the go-to, and then also on Facebook. So on your Facebook business page, you can put your video up there in the long form, and someone can watch your entire production. But what's important is that then it's good to be able to understand the limitations of the other platforms, so that you can create shorter form video that gets people excited on those platforms. And if they like it, they can click over to your long form. In these instances, we're using YouTube as the long form. So here's Twitter. We put a 2-minute video, 2 minutes the max, on Twitter. In the Instagram regular feed, it's 59 seconds, or really 1 minute, but we make them 59 seconds so they don't seem to work. And we promote them. People can see the video in their feed. And if they like what they're seeing, they can click over and be able to continue watching on YouTube. But you can also put the long form on Instagram using IGTV. Our recommendation is to re-edit your video in that kind of vertical as opposed to horizontal format, because when you do, that's the IGTV style that people are used to on Instagram. So the beauty of it is that you can post on Instagram long form video that people can watch in their entirety, and you can put hyperlinks in the video itself. So it's really phenomenal when it comes to some of the advances in technology that allow you to succeed today. And then what we also do is we also post these exact same a 1-minute version on TikTok. Why not? And so that way you're at least making yourself relevant in TikTok. And if somebody likes the video, they can click over to one of your long form links in order to be able to find out more. And so even TikTok has a whole advertising program, just like we talked about with Hulu. and so many others. All this self-service coming up to speed where you can just kind of sign up and be able to start advertising with them today. So in summary, what are we looking at? It's content in the form of photos, video, editorial. That's kind of your anchor. But then it's getting that content out there and distributed where the heavy lifting, where the work is taking place, which is social media. It can be targeted Facebook, banner ads, and so forth. So you get the content, you promote it out there, and then you measure and see how well it's performing. And the tools that are available to us to measure performance are phenomenal, and most of them are for free. So even I'm showing in the middle with a Twitter performance piece where we use tweet reach, and tweet reach just kind of gives you a better idea of how well you're doing when it comes to a hashtag, including share of voice and just how well are you doing in comparison to the overall landscape and even competitors. So of course, at the end of the day, all of our jobs are to be able to get our messages out there to the targeted relevant audience as best as possible. And that's what all these techniques will do. And again, the measurement, these are just a few examples. This is Facebook. And for $500, you're seeing the performance that we were able to get for a post that had 10,000 plus impressions, 854 click-throughs over to the landing page. We've even done far better, $200 only, and it was a real estate listing. And look at the number of impressions and click-throughs we got on that. And we should show both of those because there's no guarantee, as far as, we'd love everybody to be able to get what we just got for $200. But it just shows you a bit of the range, what you can expect when you start advertising your business in this way. And this is showing for another client the large number of impressions and click-throughs, but also how many people are engaged at the micro level, like how many people liked, how many people shared. So you really get a breakdown to understand how well are my posts doing. And so this is the Twitter reporting, and the blue is the organic or free, and the orange is when we did a paid performance portion of that. And you see how well you can do. In these cases, these are all videos. And so the video views is enormous. And then in the next example, this is one we do with Visit Britain. The video views you're getting when you do both free, engaged, and paid are phenomenal. And so if all that makes sense, hopefully a lot of it you'd be able to do on your own. If you have any questions, feel free to contact either myself or Fabrice Tassendo in our Los Angeles office. And we are here to help. We are here to be able to guide you along on some of the opportunities that were presented. And we hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.